So I welcome all the participants to the second half of our day 3. So now we will start with our session. As we had an idea of tools of measurement from our last session, now we are moving towards tool construction, and nobody will do it better than Dr. Vidya Vijay Naik, who is our next resource person. She is a MA, MA, PhD, and PG degree holder in HRM, that's Human Resource Management. Dr. Vidya Nayak is Business Research and Education Management Consultant. She's a consultant in research in business management and education, TQM in education domain, distance and online learning. Retired as the Dean School of Distance Learning and Professor in School of Business Management, SV Kames NMIMS in 2015. Prior to that, worked as teacher educator for nearly 30 years. She has guided 30 doctoral students and 25 master level students in research in management and education faculties. Member of many academic bodies of different universities, and she has conducted workshops and chaired many sessions at the conferences and panel discussions. So I welcome you, ma'am, for our next session.
Thank you.
Please, you can.
Should I begin?
One line I have to add. I have to add one line.
Yeah.
The participants must know that she's the most sought after statistician in the town. All of us keep chasing her, and she is so busy. It's such a, like effort to get her a post. Par excellence. We have been trying to get her to our department for a very long time, but it just could not happen due to some reason or the other. So we are very fortunate, at least today, we are able to get her online in this virtual conference or, seminar, FDP. So thank you very much, Dr. Naik.
Thank you.
Very, very looking forward to your session. Thank you. Yes.
My pleasure, Dr. Sujata. At the same time, taken me at so high that it's difficult for me to justify that now through my class session. I don't know whether I'll be able to fulfill all these expectations, but I'll try to. Okay, now can I share from my side?
When you share it from your
from my side,
when you share it from your side, there is more pressure on your system. But when we share it, it's easier on your system. The bandwidth issue arises. Try it for a little while. If it works smoothly, then you continue. Is that okay, Betty? Betty, is that okay?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Start. If there is an issue, then we can.
Yeah, because what happens is then I can move at my speed. Okay.
Yes, when I prefer to handle it myself.
We are all so much, all that teaching ingredients are so much infused in our blood that it becomes difficult. All right, friends, good afternoon. And in case there are any questions, please put them in the chat box. Looking at the time constraint of 1 hour, I do not know whether I'll be able to take up any question towards the end. But if I can, I will definitely. But if not, at least I am requesting the organizers to put all the questions together and mail them to me, which I will answer and send them back to you. So you will not be missing anything. And organizers may share my email ID also with you so that you can write to me directly from wherever you are on this globe. Okay, so don't worry about in case your question is not heard today. At least after about 2 days time, you can mail me the question and I will answer it certainly, so that I get sufficient time for the discussion of this session as well, and hope it is acceptable. All right, another challenge that I have got is not just the time, but you just had your lunch, right? So please, I would request everybody to be alert, because this session is going to be an important one, not because I am taking it, but because the tool construction is the main part and most important part in the thesis work, or for that matter, any research work. So now I begin with that. I'm sharing the presentation. Now, my session would have a particular kind of, which I have already put it on this slide. I, being a teacher, and you are also teachers at one point or the other, we all believe in maxims, right? So maxims of teaching, and we say that we go from known to unknown, and whole to part, and part to whole. For this session, I have organized my matter going from analysis to synthesis, or in other words, it is part whole. So what I'll be doing is I will be discussing all the parts first, and then putting them together into entire composite tool. Secondly, you might be knowing models of teaching, on out of which David Asubel gave us advanced organizer, and I think expository pattern of advanced organizer is useful for me at this moment, because it says that you talk about parts first and then put them together in the end. So all this will be followed by me. These are the two of organizing my session today. We'll be using small jigsaw pieces like concepts to build a meaningful and complex piece. That is the final tool. Now there are three parts that I have written over here. First, I will discuss all the related concepts. That is validity, reliability, and item analysis, which are essentials of tool construction. After with research students, that students don't understand the differences between, there are subtle differences, minor differences, but they are very significant ones. They don't understand the difference between validation and standardization, or adopting and adapting a tool. What is something like respondent and investigator information or reporting? Or we use the common term like test and scale and inventory. We call everything a questionnaire. These are some of the things, which technically are not right. So I would like to throw some light on that. And finally, putting all these three concepts together, I will step into steps in the tool construction. Okay, so we'll tool construction at the end. Tool construction part, that section doesn't get so many breaks in between. I hope that is acceptable to all of you. What is tool? In case of tool construction, we talk about the tool construction. Of course, we know what is a tool. Tool is an instrument which measures what the researcher intends to measure in a study. So they are variables. You may do it on teacher awareness or teacher effectiveness or job satisfaction or school climate or infrastructure or student teachers competencies. There are various things, these are all the variables, and you make tools on that. So that is a tool. The second this in my mind is, and why is scientific construction? Why not just take some items and go? Is there any problem? Yes, of course. So you are generating knowledge. You must be knowing by now that generation of knowledge has got certain things, inquiry method. That inquiry method would entail basically generation of knowledge scientifically. Why? So that the knowledge can be used by the other persons or other users more effectively. Now, while doing this, while constructing tool, it is possible that you may have two types of errors. One is the instrumentation error. What is personal error? First, is not able to use the tool, even if it is properly constructed. Able to administer, he is not able to score, he is not able to construct it. So these errors, personal errors, can be removed. I do not know how to drive a car, but I can learn, right? I can learn into that. So that is personal. But instrumentation error is to be taken care of while you construct the tool itself. It is like, while making a car, if you go put any screw anywhere, I think car is not going to function properly. That is why we have to be careful so that there are no errors. So instrumentation errors, how to remove them and how to construct our tool scientifically is what we are going to see. I would request Yukta, in case you find it is too much of English, please alert me. I will go in a mixed kind of language.
Sure, ma'am.
Okay, all right. If you think the speed is fast, then I will go a little slow. Just alert me, okay?
This is fine, ma'am.
This is fine, thank you, dear. Now, before we go ahead, characteristics of good tool. These characteristics are like the standard our country has. We have FSSAI. That standardized mark is for the quality of food. We have AGMARK. We have BEE for electronics and electrical instruments, isn't it? So we have ISI, Indian Standards Institute. Now all these things are basically to assure the user of the quality of that tool, right? It is what we call as a quality assurance tool. जिससे आपको पता चलता है कि आप जो इस्तेमाल करने वाले हैं वो सही है, बना नहीं दिया, so that you are using without any fear in your mind, apprehension. Similarly, for a tool, if a tool satisfies this criteria, we call it a good tool. All right. So, which are the validity, reliability, objectivity, usability, discriminating power, and adequacy? Let's quickly see one by one. In the further later slides, I have got details of that. But just one word description if I have to give you about these characteristics. One is validity. Is the instrument truthful? Does it measure what it is supposed to do? Say for example, I have a meter scale or maybe a scale that we use in the classrooms. Okay, 12-inch wali patti. That 12-inch wali patti, where do you use? You use it to measure the distance between 2 points, right? Point A and B is 6.3 inches. What does it mean? That I'm measuring. That means that scale, food scale, is a valid instrument for measuring the distances on my notebook, not on the road. Okay. Second is reliability. Can I trust on this? So reliability talks about the trustfulness. Are the results consistent? Am I getting the same results over and over again? बहुत सारे लोगों ने रेलवे स्टेशन पे मशीन देखा होगा, है ना? तो इस वेइंग मशीन पर आप अगर आप एक बार पहली बार खड़े हो जाते हो, आपका वेट आता है से फॉर एग्जांपल 70, 10 मिनट बाद आप फिर से ऊपर खड़े रहो, फिर से वो देख लो, oh my god, it's 80 kg now. In 5 minutes and 10 minutes, I'm going to put on weight 5 kg. That means the tool is not reliable. It is not giving me consistent results. अगर मैं 2 महीने के बाद, क्योंकि 2 महीने में मेरा बहुत सारा कुछ खाने पीने में बदलाव आया होगा. So that is, we talk about the reliability. Point number 3 is objectivity. Whether I use the tool or you use the tool or anybody else uses the tool should give same results. So it should not be subjective. The fourth point is usability. It has got 3 subparts. It is ease of administration of the tool, ease of scoring the tool, and ease of interpretation of the results. जो कुछ भी measure करने वाली हूँ, can I easily, सहज इसका इंटरप्रिटेशन कर सकती हूँ कि नहीं, इसका अर्थान्वेषण मैं टीचर्स को बता सकती हूँ. Then comes adequacy. Adequacy talks about covering all the aspects of the variable. जिस पे आप काम कर रहे हो वही वेरिएबल के सारे बाजू, सारे include your tool. And lastly, but extremely important, is the discriminating power. That is, it helps you to differentiate between the sample. High performing students, low performing students, highly motivated teachers, low motivated teachers, or maybe knowledgeable parents and not so knowledgeable parents, whatever may be your sample group. That sample group, you should be able to distinguish or differentiate into 2 or 3 or more groups depending upon your requirement. Okay? अगर मेरे क्लास में बच्चे हैं और सभी को 100 मिलते हैं, how will I tell you who is the student who has understood well and who is the student who has not understood well? या सभी को maybe between 40 मिलते हैं, है ना? Such tools, they do not have discriminating power. That is an important aspect in research because we are using many a times categorization and interpretation of the results, with reference to the different subcategories of the sample. Now let me go to number 1, validity. Validity, as we have already seen, measures what it is supposed to measure. If the instrument measures what it is supposed to measure, well, it is a validity. Now, there are thermometer, clinical thermometer, laboratory thermometer, and industry thermometer. I cannot use clinical thermometer in the laboratory, neither can I use it in the industry, because वहाँ के जो temperatures है, वहाँ का उष्मा जो है बहुत ज्यादा है. So my thermometer, even if it measures heat, it is not the right instrument to measure the heat in the industrial room. I cannot use the laboratory thermometer which has got 0 to 100 degrees Celsius to measure my temperature, because my temperature has to be measured pretty accurately. COVID, तो आपने देखा ही होगा, you are extremely sensitive, and 100.123 you become scared. But suppose your instrument is not able to measure that, you get panicky. So a tool valid, it is valid for measuring that variable, it may not be valid for all the purposes of that variable. As I said in the example of this thermometer, clinical thermometer is only valid for measuring body temperature, lab thermometer is only valid for measuring the laboratory experiments, and industry thermometer is only valid for measuring the industry temperatures. All right. So we say it is the truthfulness. Is the instrument truthful? Now there are 3 major categories, major types. I will be going through this little later on in the next slides. One is the phase logical validity, second is criterion validity, and third is the construct validity. Logical validity has got 2 aspects, because it logically tests content and tries to see whether the relevance of the operational definition with the content of the tool, content of the item. Item में जो लिखा है क्या वही ऑपरेशनल डेफिनेशन में है, ये अगर देखना है तो वी हैव टू यूज द लॉजिकल और व्हाट वी कॉल एज रिलेशनल वैलिडिटी. उसका आप रिलेशन देखते हो, किस चीज का रिलेशन, आइटम एंड द ऑपरेशनल डेफिनेशन. अभी यहाँ उसमें जो 2 पार्ट्स है, फेस एंड कंटेंट. द फेस वैलिडिटी इज एग्जामिनिंग द फेस of the item. You just read the item and decide, okay, this is relevant, this is not relevant. That's it. So it is very, very superficial kind of validity. Second, amongst logical is the content validity. If you are measuring, or if you are trying to measure the validity of an achievement test, or where you have got proper, what shall I say, weightage tables, weightages to different contents, जैसे mathematics achievement है or maybe any other competence test है. So there you have got to check it with the completeness of the content. The second one is the criterion, wherein we measure with reference to any other measure. For example, concurrence है. Suppose I am talking about a tool in satisfaction and tool of happiness. Okay, do I have just happy at the organization in my school? Yes. Now these two, if I make the tool on happiness or satisfaction in the school, the similar concepts should show high correlation. So the test should be showing concurrent validity with other similar tests if the variables are very much similar. Many times it is also used when you are creating a different kind of test. Say for example, you are standardizing an intelligence test now. पहले जो standardize किए थे Binet test या Cattell's test or Raven's progressive matrices and all these things, they give a result in a particular fashion. Even if I just take simple ordinary IQ test which is standardized by an author, and I feel that now the students have become more knowledgeable and aware, so let me change the test because that test has become pretty old. test that I may be using, and if I measure IQ of a student and suppose it comes out to be 125, will I? So for that matter, I have to also establish his IQ by some other similar test and then show the correlation between that test results and my test results. If there is high correlation, then I will say that my test is equally valid. Okay, so that is what we call as concurrent validity. Second is predictive, which predicts the future behavior of the sample. For example, suppose if I talk about any admission test in the schools or the colleges, or maybe for that matter, they give CET, right? Now the person hasn't even become a doctor or a teacher or whosoever, but still is giving CET. What do they do with that CET? They will predict, okay, if you have this ability of, if you understand what is education, you will be, understand what is teaching learning process, you will be a good teacher. So they have identified certain variables which will predict the future behavior of these teachers, right? Test, when you are creating, when you are constructing, you have to establish the predictive validity of that test. Lastly, it is the construct validity. Now, what is the construct? We'll see a little later on. It has got convergent and the discriminant validity, or which is a divergent validity. Similarly, as we said, happiness and satisfaction are two constructs wherein they will converge with each other, and happiness and sadness are two opposite. So if I give you a sadness test and if I give you a happiness test, they should not correlate at all. So it means that they have high discriminant validity. We'll come to it later on again when we discuss that in detail. Okay? I'm going back. This is an overview, quick view of the flow chart of three types: logical, criterion, congruent, construct. So under logical 2, base and content. Under criterion 2, predictive and concurrent. And under congruent or construct, it is convergent and divergent. I think you would have understood this by now. These answer. This I have just compiled together for sake of quick recap. Do experts validate the instrument at the face value, merely at the instrument measures what is suggested to measure at the face value? Just दिखने में कैसे लगता है? दिखने में क्या वो सही लगता है? That is face value. Content, does the tool measure adequately the concept? क्या concept का adequately measure किया जा सकता है? Concept, okay. Criterion related, again the differentiate in a manner which helps to predict the behavior. उसके नीचे दो, उसके अंदर concurrent and predictive. Does it measure the differentiate in a manner that helps to predict the criterion variable? Second is, does it measure the differentiate individuals in a manner that helps to predict the future? Construct, does the instrument measure the concept as it is theorized? Theory से construct आते हैं ना? And within that, again, do the instruments measure the concepts which correlate highly, and in discriminant which do not correlate? Okay, so that's a quick recap. I'm going to the next concept now, that is reliability. Construct. There is a difference between the term concept and a construct. I would just like to highlight it here if it is possible. Concept and construct. Now, what is the difference between concept and a construct? When I say that I am sitting on a chair, okay, it's a concept. The moment I say sitting, you can imagine me. I'm not lying down, I'm not standing, I'm not running. So sitting is a concept, because by that, everybody understands the meaning. When I say I'm going out of the room, everybody should understand that what is happening, isn't it? Without even showing the picture. That is what we call as a concept. Okay. Construct is something more than that. Construct is not, it is a hypothetical thing. It is not easily observable. All right. Let us take hero, which is still hero for you too, probably. Amitabh Bachchan ji. Now, इनकी personality versatile है. If I say versatile or charismatic, charismatic personality may have variety of smaller concepts. His way of functioning, his professionalism, his punctuality, his body structure, all these kinds of things, the way he speaks, the way he cultural inputs जो है जैसे को मतलब किसी का आदर करना ये करना all these kinds of things together make it personality, right? So this personality becomes a construct because it is not just one single identifiable concept. So construct is basically an idea which is abstract and which is intercorrelated with similar concepts. So if I have to quickly define construct, construct is a subset of interconnected concepts. Subset of interconnected, I can say set of interconnected concepts. All right. All these concepts put together make one construct. So it is an abstract thing. I cannot see personality. I cannot visualize. It has to have certain abstractness. Suppose if I say that I am anxious now, in this webinar I am anxious. How will you know unless I tell you? You have to infer from my behavior. Am I really sweating? Oh my God, I have to give webinar. Oh my God. How many people are there? Will they understand that exactly? So I'm sweating. Am I? Is it that? Am I restless in my seat? Am I just moving my fingers up and down, maybe kind of restlessness behaviors? All these are what we call as manifested behavior. Manifested behavior for its measurement. We will come to it when we talk about the operational definition once again, little later on. So I hope the difference between concept and construct is clear. Another example of concept that I should have given, I was saying that I am sitting in a chair. Chair is a concept. By chair, everybody means the same thing, right? Nobody will imagine a bed when I say a chair. Nobody will imagine a kind of a garden scenario when I'm saying a chair. Chair is a place to sit, right? Maybe office chair, maybe dining table chair or whatever chair, but it's a chair. Okay? तो हर एक के आंखों के सामने एक ही तरह की इमेज आती है, ठीक है? So that is what we call as concept. Let's go ahead. Now, as we have seen, construct validity is basically, as we said, it is the operational definition. Can we operationalize the constructs properly so that we can decide either the validity or discriminant validity, whatever. And we have already discussed this, so I will not spend much time. I have to discuss some other things as well. We go to the concept now, the concept of reliability. I have given some example earlier that weighing scale, right? Most what shall I say? People believe that because they have experienced that kind of thing. Not only the weight, लेकिन उसके पीछे जो लिखा हुआ मेरा नसीब है वो भी बदलता है 10 मिनट में. क्या बदलेगा ये? है ना? So it is not at all reliable. All right. So it is the degree to which an instrument measures in the same way. Just 1 minute. In the same way each time under same conditions with the same sample. These are very properly, but let's see. Let me try. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. It is the consistency of the so same way, same condition, and same subjects. Why? Suppose the conditions change. I give it on a day which is sunny, and second test I give second test or retest, what we call as I give on the some other day, which is a very rainy kind of thing and gloomy nature. I am not in the proper mood to give that test today, but that day I was very happy, right? So same conditions may not be possible. Same subjects, why? Because if I change the subject, if I change the sample, what happens? That it becomes very difficult for me to correlate. मेरे ही दो measures लेने हैं ना मुझे. पहला time I take Yuktis or maybe Dr. सुजाता's measure वो मैच नहीं होंगे कभी भी, they will not correlate. So मेरे ही अलग अलग measures or the same student, same sample has to be measured twice. Subject doesn't mean school subject means here the sample. And therefore, in spite, after doing this, same conditions and same subjects or the same sample, the results should be same because the people are same. अगर ऐसे होता है, only then we can call it consistency. ऐसे बहुत बार होता है ना, किचन में लोग जाते हैं, पहली बार मैंने चाय बनाई बहुत अच्छी बनी, दूसरी बार बनाई उतनी बेकार बनी, है ना. घर वाले क्या बोलते हैं, तुम्हारी चाय भी कंसिस्टेंटली ठीक नहीं बन रही है भाई. वही दूध है, वही चाय पत्ती है, वही पानी है, वही गैस स्टव है, वही आप हो, फिर भी आप कंसिस्टेंटली एक ही तरीके की चाय नहीं बना सकते. दैट इज कंसिस्टेंट. ओके, नाउ how do I establish that? There are 4 different methods. One which measures stability test and retest, and the second one measuring stability is the alternate or parallel form. I'll come to it later on again with that. Third one is split. These two talk about the inter-item consistency. These are two listed here: reliability, stability and consistency. Under stability, these two: test, retest, and under consistency, internal consistency and split half. Okay. Let me go ahead so that I can discuss that. Now, what happens in the test, retest? Give the test today, and after about few days or maybe a week or two, you give the test again. These two tests should show high correlation. If the correlation is high, then I can say that the results are stable and therefore the tool is reliable. Now the problem with the test and retest is, at the time of retest, as you all know, we are all teachers and educators. So what happens is, at the time of retest, if I am an intelligent person, I will remember the items. After that, I'll go home and check whether I'm right or wrong, or I'll discuss with my group. And second time, I will do a better performance. है ना? हो सकता है कि नहीं? So therefore, at that point of time, retest में I'll get more marks than what I had got in the test. It is not pre and post. Remember, it is not pre and post. It is test and retest without any intervention. So therefore, test and retest में अगर stability नहीं है, तो problem create होता है. So I cannot give the same test. Somebody said, all right, don't give the same test, give a similar test. ठीक है, वो भी दे दिया. Instead of asking what is 2 plus 2, I asked 3 plus 5. ठीक है, great. But if I set a parallel test again, the conditions I cannot keep the same. वही बात है, फिर से अभी एक बार गर्मी में दिया था, एक बार बारिश के मौसम में दे रहे हो, एक बार सुबह दिया था, एक बार शाम को दे रहे हो, एक बार मंडे दिया था, एक बार सैटरडे इवनिंग दे रहे हो. नाउ टुमारो छुट्टी, कल संडे है, संडे मूड में लोग नहीं अटेम्प्ट करते ठीक से. मंडे ब्लूज होते हैं, मंडे ब्लूज, एवरीबडी इज अवेयर ऑफ दैट. मंडे मॉर्निंग ब्लूज, आई डोंट वांट टू गो टू स्कूल, आई डोंट वांट टू गो टू कॉलेज, ये जो बातें होती है. सो मेंटल कंडीशंस आर डिफरेंट एट डिफरेंट टाइम्स, राइट? So therefore, even if it is alternate form, even if I control or check pre-learning or earlier learning, effect of earlier learning on the post-learning, I am not able to check the mental condition at 2 different levels. किसी के घर में कुछ प्रॉब्लम हो जाता है the second time, है ना? तो ये और बाकी सारी चीजें इतनी बदलती रहती है that even parallel form or alternate form does not effective measure of reliability. But still हम लोग कर लेते हैं, ऐसे कोई बात नहीं. It is not wrong, but there is something better than that. So why not use better if the better things are available, right? So therefore, what happens is, you would have seen that as stated in parallel alternate form, what we do is we try to calculate correlation, okay, on the first set of tests and the second set of. प्रॉब्लम ये है कि अगर वो सारे अगर है स्टेबिलिटी में अगर इश्यूज जो आ रहे हैं, द क्वेश्चन इज कैन आई कंस्ट्रक्ट ओनली वन टेस्ट एंड ब्रेक इट इनटू 2? हो सकता है क्या ऐसे? एक बड़ा सा लंबा सा टेस्ट बनाया 50 वाला, 50 आइटम्स टेस्ट, आई ब्रेक इट इनटू 2 and then take the first half 1 to 25 and second half as 26 to 50. Now I have got two tests, two sections. Can I establish correlation and say, all right, I'm doing everything in one sitting? It is possible. Okay, but there are certain issues. Let us see what these issues are. So split half is acceptable, no doubt. But they give you 1 to 50 items. And if I tell all 255 people, whatever they are there now, if I tell you to break it into two, how many of you will do in the same way? Some log bole kahi coach log bolenge all the odd items together. Somebody will say we'll put all the even items together. Somebody will say, okay, I'll take 1 and 50, 2 and 49. ऐसा करते जाऊंगी. So there are a variety of combinations. What we call in mathematics is permutations and combinations. So I'll get approximately 5,000 combinations. 5,000 split half हो गए ना? So 5,000 pairs हो गए मेरे approximately. I'm not giving the exact figure, but approximately 5,000 split half combinations. Which one should I take? Is there any rule? There is no rule. You can break it as you like. Therefore, there is still a better correction out of that, and that is what we call as Cronbach's alpha. So what is Cronbach's alpha? Let us see now. Many split half combinations we have seen. The solution is compute Spearman-Brown corrected split half reliability coefficient for every one of the possible split halves and then find out the mean. So if I have got 5,000 sets, I have got 5,000 correlation coefficients. तो पूरे सारे 5,000 coefficients मुझे एक ही नंबर मिलेगा, एक ही संख्या मिलेगी. Of all the 5,000 I'm going to get only one number. That number is called Cronbach alpha. Isn't it good? It takes care of takes care of your test retest के जो challenges है वो भी alternate form के challenges है वो भी split half challenges. All these challenges are taken care of by Cronbach's alpha. So whenever you read any research article or a thesis or a paper, whatever, you will always find Cronbach's alpha is calculated. Is more than 0.7. It is an acceptable value. There are sufficient evidences to say that above 0.70 is acceptable, but I'm not putting them here as of now. Okay. It says that it is superior to the research on formula 20, which is only for dichotomous, and Cronbach alpha is for everybody. Dichotomous or whatever rating scales or your achievement test, whatever may be the kind of test or scale or inventory you may have, Cronbach alpha is uniformly acceptable and usable. Okay. So I can go ahead now. This is a quick recap of what we have seen. Test retest reliability is a measure of stability. What is the statistical technique? Correlation. Parallel form, which is a measure of equivalence, because are these two scores equivalent? Then it is again correlation. Now, this I have not talked about inter-rater reliability or inter-observer reliability. Let me quickly brush up. Inter-observer reliability is used when you have more than one investigator carrying out research. It happens that you are doing observation as a method of data collection. Okay. There are 2 or 3 observers observing the same thing. If I see A as A, fine. But if somebody sees A as B and somebody sees A as C, right? Because everyone's perception of that occurrence of an event is different. So we have to have a common perception, common understanding as to what to see, how to see, and how to record. So that agreement, that is what we call as inter-observer reliability or inter-rater reliability, and it is measured with the help of percentage of agreement. And lastly, internal consistency. We have seen the measures of consistency of each item with the underlying construct, which is Cronbach's alpha. So far so good, guys. Item number 3, concept number 3, as the first is item analysis. Item analysis तो आपने सुना होगा कि नहीं मुझे मालूम नहीं, but teachers may not be aware, but teachers can very easily use it even for their action research projects as well. It is extremely important because it takes care of the discriminating power. It's extremely important. Reliability, validity we have seen. I'll quickly go back for a while and I'll come back to that slide again. Yeah, we have talked about 6 characteristics, right? Usme se validity we have done, reliability we have done. Now I'm doing discriminating power. Okay? Because objectivity, usability and adequacy, ye jo 3 hai, these 3 can done very easily, whereas reliability, validity and discriminating power, you have to use statistical analysis. That is why these 3 are significantly discussed. Other things you can just work it out on your own. All right. Now, concept of item analysis. It is extremely important in selection of items from the given pool. Now, you are aware that for a given test, you may make about 40 or 50 items. Correct items, right? Some of the items may need to be deleted. So what happens is, I need to apply the techniques of item analysis so that I can increase the effectiveness of the test, that my test becomes more valid, my test becomes more reliable. Also, my test gives me a discrimination power. Okay. Now, there are 3 kinds of information about quality of test items. First is item difficulty, second is item discrimination, and third is effectiveness of alternatives or distractors in case of multiple choice questions, MCQs. Let us see one by one quickly. This is not difficult, so I'm just going through quickly other concepts. Okay. Now, difficulty index is how many people solve the item correctly. अगर 100 में से 60 लोगों ने कर लिया, 80 लोगों ने simple item, और 100 में से 20 लोगों ने कर लिया, which item is difficult? है ना? What should be the ratio of items? High difficulty में कितने होने चाहिए, middle और moderate difficulty में कितने होने चाहिए, and low difficulty और easy में कितने होने चाहिए? That is up to us. But generally, a formula of 20:60:20 is finalized. 20 difficult, which is high difficulty level. 60%, about 60% is moderate, and again 20% for lower difficulty, matlab easy items. Why? This is based upon the normal distribution curve. Actually, normal distribution में 68% रहता है. It is actually 15, 70, and 15. But for the classroom kind of conditions, we can go into 20, 60, and 20. That should be fine. Okay. So either you can keep it 15, 70, 15 for middle and low difficulty index, or you can go for 15, 17, 15. It entirely your justification, or you have to justify why you are doing that. Okay, but both of them are around normal distribution of that particular variable. All right. Now, higher difficulty index means greater proportion of sample answered the question, and lower difficulty score means less people attempted the question correctly. Lower difficulty score suggests need to modify the items or delete the item. Now, what lower difficulty means? Item is very easy. If out of 100 students, 75 to 80% people do it correctly, will I be able to discriminate between these? No. Right? If the item and only 50 people, 80% ने कुछ समझा ही नहीं, आइटम क्या है, क्या पूछा है, कैसे करना है, कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. Item is very difficult. Is it going to discrimination index? No. And that is the reason why we do not retain such items. Okay. So that is why we have to be careful. You can read a lot of material. Literature is available in the research books in about this. Okay. This is just a kind of preliminary orientation to you so that we at least know the terms. Okay. Discrimination index. It is a degree to which an item correctly differentiates between high and low scorers on a construct. Sometime back, we were talking about high and low discrimination, highly satisfied teachers and not satisfied teachers, or highly motivated students not so. So why do we do that actually? Tell me. The most important reason for discrimination is if you really have to have some kind of training program or some kind of intervention for these people, then we should be knowing, who are these people. If my test is not able to discriminate between these two, how will I do that? So in order to decide what intervention or what kind of follow-up programs I should do or what kind of treatment I should do for these people, I should be able to have good discrimination index for my tool. That is why good items and bad items, in the sense negative, lower group scoring more. Now what is a bad item? Lower group, lower achievers जो है top 47% and bottom 27%. That's the kind of process that we follow. I think you may read more about it later. This top 25% and bottom 27%. So top 27% should get more marks and bottom 27% should get less marks. That logical, isn't it? If the item is normally distributed, if the variable is normally distributed. So therefore, what happens is that suppose the lower 20% is scoring more marks. That is not good. That is the reason we say that we should be able to manage it properly. All right. I think I should be going, looking at the time available at my disposal. I'm sorry, but I may overflow a bit. Now, distractors play a significant role in MCQs. Same thing. What happens if the distractor? What is the purpose of distraction? That student should be able to attempt the question in a what? After knowing it correctly, not by guessing. Ina mina maina mo doesn't work here. Okay. So ek bar A, ek bar B, that doesn't work because that's a guesswork. And if you are going to get the right answer by guessing, would you be able to really measuring that? No. That is why we should be able to ask them, provide the discrimination or the distractors in such a way that the students will not be able to attempt the answer by guessing. Okay. Let me quickly go. It's nearing 3:30. Right. There is something else, what we call as inter-item and item total correlation. This is also a part of internal consistency. So it examines the extent to which the items are interrelated. If there is high correlation, that means it is good. That means items are consistent with that variable. And if it is not, then they are not consistent. Okay, so low correlation are less desirable and to be deleted. I'm sorry, I am running a bit fast through this because I have to spend some time on the last, actually the stages, and I have to show you an example also, which has been recently done in one of the theses. Now, certain differences that we should know: standardization and validation of the tool. In validation, you establish variability, reliability, and item analysis. In standardization, norms are established. Now, what are norms? You must be aware of age norms and the grade norms, isn't it? When the school readiness test, the test is already there, and that test the student has got a score. Okay, the prospective student has got a score. Where does he stand on that particular score? Because you have already created the norms. So you try to match his score with that scale that you have prepared, right? P45 है, percentile 45 है, इसके नीचे 45% है या P90 है, इसको हम ले ले क्या नहीं ले ले स्कूल में, कॉलेज में, है ना? So all this is basically, if you are standardizing the tool, then norms are a must. But if you are creating a tool for your research, for your PhD, for your research paper, for your what shall I say, action research, then norm formulation, norm standardization, standardization of a test is not essential. Okay. Now, developing norms. There are two types of norms you are all familiar with. Developmental norms, which go with mental age norms and the grade equivalent norms and ordinal scale norms. And within group norms are, as I was talking about, the percentile ranks, T-score and Z-score, age norms and grade norms. More information is available in the books. But in case you still want something more, I may be able to send you a note little later on. Let me not spend much time on this. Now, difference between test, scale, and inventory. We are all in a habit of saying, मेरा questionnaire तैयार है मैडम. What is in the questionnaire? Questionnaire में मेरा rating scale भी है, उसमें awareness भी है, inventory भी है, उसमें 2-4 knowledge level questions भी है, और हम लोग उसको questionnaire बोलते हैं. It is wrong. Question exclusively only open-ended or close-ended questions. Nothing beyond that. The research uses these terms differently. I think your earlier session was about the tools. There, of course, the person would have definitely talked about these differences. The test is achievement test or intelligence test or aptitude test. Okay, these measure the competency or the ability of the group or the people. Okay, present the correct answer. Here there is right and wrong answer. Okay. In the scale, which is the rating scale, 5-point scale, 7-point scale, which measures behaviors, feelings, attitude. There is no correct right and wrong answer, but it demands endorsing of a alternative. Do you agree with this or you don't agree with that? Right? You are all familiar with strongly agree, agree, undecided, disagree, and strongly disagree. Next category is something like inventory. You have interest inventory, you have personality traits, you have vocational inventory. What kind of vocation should you be getting, isn't it? Now, if this doesn't require correct answer, there is no endorsing, but at the same time, what do I like to play with the machines. If anything is broken at home, I start doing it or I repair it. This is describing me, isn't it? It is inventing me. Remember it that way. Okay. So therefore, these items are basically what we call as inventories. So use proper terminology. This is first. We either use the tool that is already existing by adopting or adapting or by creating. But it is also possible that a tool is already ready on the available and it is sold and it is available for use. So why clearly describing, you can save your time and use that time in creating some other tools which are not available. Okay. Now what is adopting? Adopting, if you are using the tool without change, verbatim as it is. Okay, where the validity and reliability are already established. You don't have to calculate it again. It links your study with other researchers, okay, who have used the tool. So it tells you that the tool has been extensively used and therefore this tool becomes the appropriate tool for my research. We can justify that, okay. Include who has developed, who validated, rigor, get the strength that gives a rationale for using the tool. So only thing that if you are translating the tool into your own language, then you need to establish validity and reliability for the translation. Forward validity and backward validity, both ways. Okay, so you need to establish validity as well as the reliability. Now difference, again, the same thing, now I'm talking about adapting. It is not that every time you'll get to use the same tool as it is. No, things are different everywhere. So if you are making certain modifications, but you are going to keep the skeleton same, you are adding certain items, you are deleting certain items, then we adapt the tool. Okay, the report details of the original tool, please report in your thesis or in your research paper the original tool and the changes made by you. You have to re-establish validity and reliability. It applies even to translation. And when do you do that? Advise when the dimension of the variables are different. You have chosen 3 variable dimensions and the person has taken 5 and you are deleting 2. Time lag, the tool has been prepared in 2000, now we are using it for 2020. So much time, probably there are certain changes in the behavior. Third is cultural changes. The tool has been made in the urban area, I am using it for the rural area. The tool has been made in the Western world, I am using it in the eastern side of the Asian countries. Ethnic differences. Target group, the tool was made for school children, for primary, it was made for secondary. So there are growth patterns, there are developmental changes that are happening. So all these things are to be taken into account and therefore you have to adapt the tool, okay. But at both the times when you are adopting as well as adapting, it is extremely important to take prior written permission of the author. before using the tool, even before adapting the tool. Okay, that tells you about the research. I think somewhere that topic is also in your research, ethics in research. I do not know whether it has happened or not. Still, ethics in research. Okay. Now, therefore, that written permission has to be there through mail. Okay, mail में आपको रखना पड़ता है. Probably you will have to attach the copy to your thesis depending on the requirement of your university. Okay, please do that. Otherwise, it's plagiarism. Now, difference between respondent and investigator reporting, which is quickly I'll go through. Where the information comes from the respondents, that is questionnaire, schedule, rating scales, and inventory. What you have got to watch for the missing data. Don't try to see that the data is not missing. Too much of missing data will eliminate the case. And when the investigator is reporting, you have to watch for the objectivity. Focus group discussions, observations, interview, sociometric techniques or the projective techniques basically call for high objectivity in the tool. Now I'm to the third part, which is the crux of the or culmination of whatever we have done so far. We will run into 3 phases: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, comprising development, scale development, and scale evaluation. This is the sequence: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One by one, I will go through all. Identify the construct, operationalize the construct, create pool of items, establish content validity or even context validity. You can say not context. What was that? Anyway. Pilot testing, item analysis, validity and reliability, finalization of tool, and developing norms. 8 will be definitely common for you all. 9 will be applicable only if you are going to do the standardization. Now, once we have understood concepts independently, now let us quickly go through this. Identify the construct. You have to finalize the construct for which you are planning to develop the tool. Also, at the same time, decide the type of tool. Are you going to create a rating scale, or are you doing a test, or are you constructing an inventory, or are you constructing a questionnaire? Whatever you may do, it's up to you. Okay, but you have to identify the construct and decide the type of tool. You need to operationalize it. Operationalization you are all aware of. It is theoretical as well as operational. What does it mean? Definitions. Theoretical definition comes from related literature. I think you might have, because related literature helps you a lot. It's a backbone of your study, right? So therefore, उसमें से आपको पता चलता है कि how people have defined that particular construct. Okay? Theory of course gives you. Suppose if I'm talking about learning, theories of learning, what does theory of learning, your theories of motivation, theories of attention, isn't it? So what do the theories tell me? What are the concepts that are involved in that? So if I have to operationalize that, then I must go to the theory books first. Now, what is operational definition? Operational definition is the researcher's definition. I may have 10 different dimensions for theoretical definition, but I am not interested in all 10. I may take only 5 or 6. So I have to operationalize what is required for my work. And the researcher's definition is what we call as the operational definition. But look at it. The theory is put into operation. Operation matlab you have to do something, you have to carry out certain activity. So there are certain characteristics which the operational definition must possess. First of all, operational definitions will give you the dimensions of that construct. About what shall I say? Law, commitment to the organization. Where does commitment come into picture? What are the dimensions? Is it towards the students? Commitment towards the stakeholders, students, parents, and all? Is it commitment towards my task? Is it commitment to all other aspects? Say, for example, society, because also commitment. So now these are the dimensions. Under each dimension, I will have smaller parts or subsections, which we call as the elements. So one construct is broken into number of dimensions. Dimension is broken into number of elements. For the time being, just remember this. We'll go to it and we'll see example. You'll come to know what it is. Okay. These are nothing but the behaviors. Third point that I have to mention in my operational definition is the source of data. मैं कहाँ से ले रही हूँ? Secondary data से ले रही हूँ या primary data से ले रही हूँ? Will I be taking from the school records or will I be taking from the census? Will I be taking the source of data in the sense, am I conducting a test? What will I, where does the data come from for that particular construct? How will I score that? And afterwards, after discrimination, how am I going to categorize that? So these are the 4 different aspects that every operational definition must, I would underline must 10 times and bold letters, okay? Bold, capital and underlined. So these 4 aspects must be there. All right. The third thing is the create a pool of items. Now, many a times we create a pool of items either by our own mind or whatever is available in the internet. वहीं से ले लेते हैं because convenience is the best thing that people do. Google गुरुजी आप आइए हमको बोलिए कि क्या क्या अवेलेबल है मैं वहीं से ले लूं और अपना टूल बना के मेरे गाइड को दे दूं या रिसर्च में. That is not the right way. You can use it as a framework. You can use it as a kind of some starting point. So there are 2 broad. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We have just another 4 minutes to finish.
Okay. ठीक है. 1 घंटा कम हो जाता है. उसमें से पहले कितना टाइम चला जाए? Okay. I'll give you some.
Sorry, Dr. Naik. Sorry. We have an evaluation session thereafter. So sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Really sorry. But
I'll just try to finish. I'll just run through. Okay. So I'll do it fast. So generating from below, in the sense from the field, whatever I get is what we call as inductive, those who are practitioners and those who are the theorists, okay, generating from the books or from the related literature. So you get the insights from this. Now precautions to be taken care of: adequate conceptualization, construct overlapping or underestimation, underrepresentation, 5-point scale लेना है, 5-point scale या 7-point scale, and minimum double number. अगर आपको 35 का बनाना है तो you should have 70 items on the scale. Logical validity. Now I have already spoken about the validity. A lot of time I already spent on validity. So what I'll do is I will just quickly go through. Logical, you can either establish phase and or content value. 70% agreement तो होना ही चाहिए. My presentation is pretty self-explanatory. So even if you see it later on, probably it won't make a difference in your understanding. These are the statistical techniques. Then comes the important thing is pilot testing. So pilot testing is refining the tool. Okay. Missing cases in pilot testing. क्या हो गया? Handling case. Delete the. Now, when do you use? What do you use pilot testing for? Interpretation of language instruction, sequencing. लोग इस तरीके से समझ रहे हैं कि नहीं समझ रहे हैं. This I will skip. This is only for the final sample. Then tool item analysis, as we have said, will help you to take care of item difficulty, discrimination, and the distractors. Scale development. This is factor analysis. If you for the scale evaluation, and after doing all these things and after getting data from the test, you have to again establish reliability and validity so that it is established for good. Scale evaluation, if these values are not stable, then you have to do it again. Now what happens is certain items could be deleted. SPSS gives you that data very easily. It says remove item number 10, your reliability will improve by so and so number. So you have to just go through that output and decide which items are to be. Do factor analysis and then do this. I think your tool will be taken care of. Finalization of the tool. The tool with all the instructions and manual are to be prepared. Manual will contain tool administration and standardization details. Developing norms, of course, if it is required for standardization. I have already discussed this. Final printout. If the tool is standardized, final printout may be published for wider circulation with a request to receive the data for further revisions. And if it is to be validated, then norm process need not be carried out. However, other steps must be carried out rigorously. That's the end of my presentation. But at the same time, if I get 1 minute, I would just share one document or which I can mail it to you. tool construction. Can I share this?
Yes, ma'am.
Just 1 minute. It's just a quick example.
Yeah, sure.
Where is that one now? Just 1 minute. Where is that one gone? This is under the guidance of the tool, of course, which I don't mind sharing with proper. At the same time, I also wanted to show something. Just 1 minute. Okay? I'm sorry for this. Because I opened two documents together. It makes a difference. Please bear with me, my dear. So how the person, can you see it now, Yukti?
It's just starting to show, ma'am. Now we can.
Yeah, okay. Now tool construction, how the researcher has done all these 9 steps or rather 8 steps. Identify the construct. The theory of self-concept and self-efficacy has given the concept of self-efficacy. Operationalize, she has done dimensions, 4 general sources, include perceptions of expertise, vicarious experience. I think I can do like this. Social and verbal, because quickly dekhna hai to. Social and verbal persuasions and emotional and psychological, physiological responses, which lead to self-confidence. उसमें एलिमेंट्स अभी कौन से आ रहे हैं? डायमेंशंस तो 4 मिल गए. तो टीचिंग इज एन एलिमेंट, डिफरेंशियल इंस्ट्रक्शन, आईईपी, individualized educational program, discipline, problem solving. How will I measure it? Researcher made school tool, 30-item tool based upon the Bandura's self-efficacy scale. Scoring, how will I do that? 30 items hai to maximum score is score is ranging from 30 to 50. So less than 30 is less than 50 is low self-efficacy, between 50 and 75 moderate self-efficacy, and more than 75 is high. This is what we call as categorization. Then creating a pool of 50 items was created. Logical and content validity was established, where an item having agreement of equal to and 70% were retained, between 50 and 70% were modified, and less than 50 were rejected. Pilot testing was done on 35 after rejection, out of which 30 teachers. Item analysis was done, and 5 items which were showing lesser discriminating index were removed, and the final tool, which was having 30 items, was retained. Content validation was again done with the help of experts. Reliability established was 0.8, which is quite high. Max alpha. Tool was finalized, and norms were not developed because the tool was meant to be used for only limited resources. I am done. Sorry for taking little extra time, but this is
Okay, ma'am.
Putting too much into 1 hour, but whatever I could do best, I have done it.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a pleasure to listen to you. I mean, especially when you connected to the last part, it was because whatever you told, it was, such difficult things become so easy when you are just talking to us. So, ma'am, thank you very much. The time constraint only, otherwise we just.
If I explain the concept.
Betty,
Actually, what happens, it should be 1.5 hours, so that 1.5 hours, so that पहले 15 minute introduction इसमें चले जाते हैं. 1 and 51 hour and 15 minutes are enough at least to talk about.